So students, today we will start with the poetry. Okay, so students, let us start with your poem Speak Up, that has been penned down by Faiz Ahmed Faiz. Okay, so let's get started with the poet of your poem Speak Up. So Faiz Ahmed Faiz 1911 to 1984. ओके तो 1911 से 1984 तक जो है इनका लाइफ स्पेन था. सो ही born in सियालकोट पंजाब. ओके नाउ सियालकोट is in Pakistan. He is regarded as one of the most influential Urdu poets. So he was a Urdu poet. Okay, so most influential Urdu poet of the 20th century. Faiz Ahmed Faiz added a new strain of longing in poems. Okay, so Faiz Ahmed Faiz has added a wishful, desirous more in poems. Okay, longing, a strain of longing means a wishful, desirous change. During long imprisonment as a political dissident. So he writes his poetry during a long imprisonment as a political dissident. Dissident means a person who opposes official policies. Okay. Then modern Urdu poetry is incomplete without him. So it is considered that the modern Urdu poetry is incomplete without Faiz Ahmed Faiz. So Faiz was a journalist and broadcaster. He fought all his life for the rights of the poets. So he fought for the rights of poets. He was associated with literary movement Anjuman Taragi Pasande Muzannafin Ahind. His notable poetic work include दास्ताने सबा एंड जिंदा नामा. तो ये जो नोटेबल पोएटिक वर्क्स हैं इनके दास्ताने सबा एंड जिंदा नामा. हिज निकाह वाज परफॉर्म्ड इन वन ऑफ द लाइब्रेरी रूम्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज फॉर वुमेन एम ए रोड श्रीनगर. सो द मैरिज rituals that are performed in the library room of government college for women MA road Srinagar. Okay, so the present poem reveals his ideas of a classless society. So classless society means a society that is not divided into social classes. Okay, Faiz was nominated twice for the Nobel Prize. So Nobel Prize के लिए he has been nominated twice. Then he won the Lenin Peace Prize in 1962. So he won Lenin Peace Prize in 1962. So now Speak Up. This poem is taken from Faiz's collection of poems Nakshe Faryadi, published in 1941. Okay, so it is the extract of Nakshe Faryadi. Your poem that is prescribed in your book is a collection from the Nakshe Faryadi. It is an extract, and Nakshe Faryadi has been published in 1941. Faiz wrote Speak Up during the final phase of the British rule. So Faiz ने ये Speak Up poem तब लिखी when there is the final phase of British rule. It is evocative of that era. So it is a poem that is evocative. Evocative means bringing strong images, memories or feelings. A poem that brings you by reading it, that brings you strong images and memories or feelings. That is called to be evocative. Okay. Faiz's poetry underwent a seminal change around 1940 when he gave up writing traditional poems. So Faiz पोइट्री जो है वो बहुत ही सेमिनल चेंजेस लिए उन्होंने. सेमिनल चेंजेस मीन्स कि डेवलपमेंट जो है उनकी हुई, बहुत ही ज़्यादा उनकी पोइम्स की डेवलपमेंट हुई. ठीक है, वो जो है एक टाइम स्ट्रॉन्गली इन्फ्लुएंसिंग जिसको बोल सकते हैं आप. ठीक है, तो अराउंड 1940 when he gave up writing traditional, अब उन्होंने ट्रेडिशनल पोइम्स को छोड़ दिया लिखना, ठीक है, and occurred with there is a paradigm. Paradigm means a type of example or a pattern of uh, creating things, like changing things. Okay, so पोइट्री जो उन्होंने पहले लिखते थे फॉर पोइट्री सेक, बट नाउ शिफ्टेड टू पोइट्री विद अ पर्पस. पोइट्री लिखेंगे तो उसके पीछे कोई पर्पस होना चाहिए जो रीडर्स के माइंड में या उनके दिल में घर बना ले, उनके माइंड को चेंज कर सके, उनकी सोच चेंज कर सके, ठीक है. दैट वॉज द पर्पस ऑफ फेज पोइट्री. This occurred with one of his most intense poem, मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब नमा. एंड ये जो इनकी पोइम थी, ये इन्होंने एक शुरुआत की, ठीक है. आस्क मी नॉट फॉर दैट ओल्ड फर्वर, ठीक है. फर्वर मीन्स एक जो है इंटेंस एंड पैशनेट फीलिंग. ओके, सो in which Faiz Ahmad Faiz is at his best as a socialist who believes there lies a world beyond the realm of love. तो ये बिलीव करते थे कि एक प्यार की जो प्यार भरी ज़िंदगी है उससे बियॉन्ड भी एक लाइफ होती है लोगों की, जहाँ पर वो सप्रेस किए जाते हैं, ऑप्रेस्ड किए जाते हैं, या उनको बहुत ही दुख है, या और भी बहुत सारी वांटिंग्स हैं, इल ट्रीटमेंट्स उनके साथ की जाती हैं. तो सिर्फ जो है एक प्यार के इर्द गिर्द इंसान की ज़िंदगी नहीं रहती. दैट वॉज द फीलिंग ऑफ the poet. He is deeply touched by the side of the poverty-stricken people and uses heart-throbbing images. So he was deeply touched with the conditions of the poor, and he uses heart-throbbing images. Heart-throbbing मतलब दिल को दहलाने वाली ऐसी इमेजेस उसने वो इमेजेस यूज़ करके जो है मतलब कंपैरिजन करके उन इमेजेस का जो है वो अपनी पोइम्स जो है लिखने की कोशिश करी. ब्रिंगिंग द अल्टरनेट रियलिटीज़ ऑफ लाइफ विद पैथोस. ओके, पैथोस मीन्स अ क्वालिटी दैट एवोक्स पिटी और सैडनेस. मतलब बाय रीडिंग दैट थिंग्स वी जस्ट फील पिटी और सैडनेस. As Faiz believed in classless society, his poetry is an emblem of humanism. Okay, Faiz's political beliefs and his association to the socialists really give him a tough time, but his poetry surpassed all these challenges and is still recalled with great fervor. Okay, he lived in exile. He returned to his motherland just a few years before his death. Before his death, he returned to his motherland. Speak Up is a beautiful expression of the poet to defy oppression. So it is a beautiful poem, Speak Up, that is openly resisting and asking for the openly resisting or refuse any kind of oppression. Okay, a poem of profound meaning and courage that gives voice to the voiceless. So it by reading the readers just feel that they have to speak for their own beliefs, for their own duties, for their own rights. They know their right, they should know their rights. So that is the poem, and that is the defy oppression. Okay, so students, before starting the poem, I just give you a brief summary of the poem, which will make you easy to understand the poem. Okay, the whole theme of the poem. This poem was written before 1941, as I already told you, before the final phase of the British rule. Okay, India was then under the British rule. The British were very cruel rulers. They had repressed the poor Indian badly. People lived a life of fear. They had not the courage to speak up against the cruelties of the British. In this poem, the poet calls upon his poor people to speak up against their oppression. He tries to fill courage in their hearts. He says that they have lips that are their own. They have a soul that is still their own. They have an upright body that is also their own. So they should use their lips, their soul, and their manliness to speak up. The poet says that the climate of change is already there. They should take full advantage of it and speak up. Only then they can break the fetters of slavery. Okay, fetters means zanjeerein. ठीक है. So let's get started with the poem explanation, stanza wise. Okay, so speak up, for your lips are not sealed and your words are still your own. So the poet recall upon his countrymen to speak up the things they want to speak. They have their own lips. Okay, this upright body is yours. Speak while your soul is still your own. Then further, poet asks that they have not to borrow lips from others to speak up. They have upright bodies. The poet means to say that they are human beings and have the power to speak. And students, it is only human beings who have upright bodies. Okay, there are no other creatures who have upright bodies. Upright means straight bodies. So animals also do not have upright bodies. They cannot upright their bodies. So only we are humans, and we have given that courage. We have given that bodies to speak up, to fight for our rights. Okay, so this is all poet wants to ask. So thus the poet wants to make his countrymen realize that God has given them the power to speak, and they must speak up the things they want to say. Okay, then look, they're in that smithy. तो अब वो क्या बोलता है? Look, they're in that smithy. So here the poet talks in a language that is plainly symbolic. तो यहाँ पे जैसे मैंने आपको पहले बताया, the poet uses various kind of heart throbbing images and various examples that are connected with the human's life. So he uses, look, there in that smithy, it is red oven fires flames. The padlocks are already opening their mouths and each fetter is skirting around. So this is the plainly symbolic. These words, smithy, red oven, fires flame, they are symbolic. He uses the symbols of smithy, oven, flames, padlocks and fetters. Okay, they are the symbolics. The meaning of these symbols is not hard to understand. The smithy is the struggle going on from the India's freedom. Okay, the oven is the heat generated by the death of the various martyrs. The flames are the voices of protest that have begun to rise everywhere. The padlocks and the fetters are clearly the symbols of slavery. Okay, padlocks means the locks. जिस तरह की हथकड़ियाँ होती हैं या जिस तरह का वो हम हाथ में बांधते हैं, दैट काइंड ऑफ पैडलॉक्स. ओके, पैडलॉक्स मीन्स जो पाँव में बांध दिए जाएंगे. एंड फेटर्स जो हथकड़ियाँ हाथ में वो पहनी जाती हैं, दे आर द सिम्बल्स ऑफ स्लेवरी. ओके, दे आर वेटिंग टू बी मेल्टेड इन द स्मिथी ऑफ द फ्रीडम फाइटर्स. एंड द स्मिथी इज लाइक a place where the metals things are made out of metals. Okay, तो वहाँ पर जो है वो स्मिथी को कंपेयर किया है उनकी लाइफ से. ओके, देन व्हाट द पोइट मीन्स इज टू से, so these symbols is that the common people should also join the struggle and raise their voice against the cruel repression of the British rulers. Okay, then tell us, for truth is not yet dead. Speak whatever you have to speak. Okay, अब then the poet calls upon his countrymen to speak up now or it will be too late. He says that the time is running out. The smithy is yet in full heat and they must strike while the iron is yet hot. If it once get cold, it will again become as hard as ever. The padlocks and chains of slavery will become unbreakable. The poet says that the truth is not yet dead. It is known to everyone what is just and what is unjust, what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, everyone must speak up and say whatever they have to say. Okay, so It is all about the poem speaker. So thank you very much, students.